I used to think my mom was just overly involved. You know, the kind of mom who micromanages your schedule, tells you what to wear to school, and insists she just wants what's best for you. It wasn't until I turned 26 that I realized I'd been raised by a master manipulator. I'm not writing this out of bitterness. I'm writing this because I ignored so many red flags growing up that now I look back and wonder how I didn't see it sooner. But when you're a kid, you don't know what's normal. And when your mom controls a narrative, the gaslighting starts to feel like love. My mom, let's call her Diane, was the type to cry in front of my teachers and say I had emotional problems at home if I got anything less than an A. She once told my soccer coach I needed to be benched because I wasn't emotionally ready to play after a breakup. I didn't even have a girlfriend back then. She isolated me from friends by saying they're using you or they're jealous of you. When I got into college out of state, she threatened to stop paying tuition unless I lived at home. I caved. She framed it as love, said she just couldn't live without me. She always said, I'm your best friend, sweetie. You can tell me anything. And I did, for years. I told her when I liked someone, when I failed, when I was scared or stressed. But she used every detail like ammo later. And I didn't even notice until it nearly cost me the best thing that ever happened to me. Emily, my fiancée, we met when I was 24. She was kind, patient, and nothing like the chaos I grew up with. Emily made me feel heard, not managed, not guilt-tripped. Heard. When she first met my mom, things seemed okay. Diane laid it on thick. You're just lovely. I'm so glad he found someone with such a gentle spirit. But over time, Emily started pulling back. She seemed tense after family dinners. She didn't talk as much. One night she asked me, Has your mom always been like this? I had no idea what she meant until I accidentally overheard a phone call between them a few weeks later. And what I heard turned my entire world upside down. It was late. I had just gotten home from work, and Emily was on the phone in our bedroom. I wasn't trying to snoop. I thought she was talking to her sister or maybe one of her co-workers. But the way she spoke was different. Cold, careful. I stopped outside the door when I heard her say, I really don't think he'd lie about something like that. He's not like that. I stood frozen. Then I heard my mom's voice through the speaker. Oh, honey, he's just really good at pretending. I didn't want to say anything, but you deserve the truth. He used to have anger problems. Even scared me a few times. I don't want to go through what I did. I felt like my stomach dropped straight into the floor. My mom was telling Emily I was violent, that I had anger issues, that I was dangerous. What the hell? She kept going. I never wanted to say anything, but when he punched that hole in the wall, well, that was a turning point. He never got help. That was a lie. I've never punched a wall in my life. Never broken a thing in anger. I'd never even raised my voice to Emily. And suddenly, I realized what Emily had been tiptoeing around for the past few months. The doubt, the tension, the questions she didn't ask out loud. My mom had been planting seeds of fear. I didn't burst in. I waited until Emily came out of the room and told her I'd heard part of the conversation. I kept my voice calm. She looked pale. She said, I didn't know what to believe. I didn't want to accuse you, but she sounded so sincere. That's the thing. My mom always sounds sincere. I told her everything. About how my mom twists things. About how she controlled me growing up. About the emotional manipulation I'd buried so deep I didn't even recognize it until now. Emily cried. Then she said something that shook me more than anything. She told me not to tell you we talked. This wasn't just toxic. This was deliberate sabotage, and I had no idea how long it had been going on. The next day, I called my mom. I didn't want to wait for a visit. I didn't want to give her the benefit of a calm lunch or coffee to talk. I needed answers. So I called her while Emily sat next to me on the couch, listening. When she picked up, she greeted me with fake warmth. Hi, sweetheart. I was just thinking of you. I didn't even say hello. I went straight to it. Why did you tell Emily I had anger issues? Why are you lying about me? Dead silence for a second. Then she laughed. What are you talking about? I never said anything like that. I told her I heard the phone call, word for word. Suddenly, the laughter turned into tears. Oh my God! Are you spying on me now? I was just worried about you. I didn't say you had issues. I said I was concerned sometimes. That's not a lie. It's a mother's job to worry. Classic Diane. Deny, deflect, cry. I stayed calm. I said, you said I scared you. You told Emily I hit walls. She didn't even flinch. Well, you did slam that door when you were 15. You scared me then. Memory is subjective, sweetie. Memory is subjective. I couldn't believe she was using that to justify outright lying. When I told her we were done, no more private talks, no more manipulation, she snapped like a rubber band. The crying stopped. Her voice turned venomous. So, this is what I get? After everything I've sacrificed? I gave up my life for you, and now you're turning her against me. She told me Emily was immature, manipulative, and try and control me, that she always knew she wasn't the one. She said Emily was twisting my mind. I hung up on her mid-rant. Then Emily and I just sat there in silence, stunned by how quickly the mask had fallen off. That was the day I fully accepted. My mother never loved me unconditionally. She only loved me when I did what she wanted. And when I didn't, I became the enemy. It hurt, more than I expected. But I also felt something else. Relief. You'd think after I confronted her and made it clear I was done with the lies, she'd back off, maybe reflect, maybe even try to apologize. But no, that's not how Diane works. 2 days after our call, I woke up to 17 unread messages in our family group chat. I'm not close with most of my extended family, but we all stayed in this giant chat she insisted on running like a Facebook page. Birthdays, holidays, little prayer chain, updates. She posted a novel. I'm not even exaggerating. A whole story. I hate to do this here, but my heart is broken, and I don't know where else to turn. I raised my son the best I could. I sacrificed everything for him. But he's fallen under the influence of someone who doesn't have our family's best interests at heart. She's turning him against me, spreading lies, and now he's shutting me out. I've never felt so abandoned. Then she added, I'm not perfect, but I've only ever tried to be a loving mother. I don't know why he's being so cruel to me. Underneath, my aunts will reply with things like, you're such a good mom, Diane Brokenheart. I always told you she was trouble. Stay strong. He'll come back around. I was stunned. I hadn't even told anyone outside of Emily what had happened. I hadn't called names. I hadn't gone public with what she said. But she made sure to fire the first shot and paint herself as a victim. One cousin messaged me privately. Hey, is everything okay with you and your mom? She seems really hurt. I told him I didn't want to drag it all out online, but that there was more to the story than what she shared. He never replied after that. It didn't stop there. My mom started posting vague, dramatic things on Facebook, too. Stuff like, you raise a son with love, and he throws you away for a girl he barely knows. Emily saw it all. I tried to protect her from it, but it was everywhere. And honestly, the worst part wasn't the public embarrassment. It was realizing how many people believed her, without question. That's when it hit me. My whole life, she'd been setting the stage for this. All the little pity stories, all the subtle digs at me in public, all the exaggerated tales about her sacrifices. She had been building a character in everyone's head, Saint Diane, the long-suffering mom. And now, I was a villain in her story. But I wasn't going to play that role anymore. After the group chat ambush and all the Facebook drama, I knew staying quiet wasn't protecting me anymore. It was just giving her the stage. So I started talking. Not in some messy social media war. Not with long rants or accusations. Just the truth. Calm, clear, and honest. The next time my Aunt Cheryl called to check in, I told her exactly what happened. She told Emily I was violent. She made up a story about me punching walls. That never happened. Cheryl paused and said, well, maybe she just misunderstood. I said, I heard her say it, word for word. I was there. Dead silence. Then she hit me with, "She's still your mother." That phrase, that one phrase. It's what every enabler in a toxic family says when they don't want to face the truth, as if being a mother erases manipulation, as if blood means abuse is excusable. I realized then I wasn't just up against her. I was up against years of enabling, a whole system built around keeping the peace and protecting appearances. Emily's parents invited us over for dinner one night, just us and them. After we told them everything, her mom hugged me. Her dad told me I deserved better. I felt like I could breathe again, like someone finally saw me as a person, not just Diane's son. That's when Emily said something I'll never forget. You don't have to be the person your mom wrote in her script. And she was right. I had spent so many years being who my mom needed me to be. The grateful son, the good kid, the fixer, the forgiver, the one who never pushed back. But I wasn't that person anymore. Not after everything she'd done. Not after the lies, the manipulation, the gaslighting. I was done being her character. So I called my mom again, not to fight, not to explain, just to say this. We're taking space from you. You've lied about me, hurt my fiancé, and involved the entire family. Until you can take accountability, we won't be seeing or speaking to you. Her response? Laughter, then crying, then threats, then silence. The full cycle. But I didn't react. I just ended the call. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty. We hadn't seen her in over 2 weeks. No calls. No texts. Not after I told her we needed space. Emily and I were finally settling back into something like peace. We went out on a weekend trip, watched movies, even cooked together without that constant tension hovering over us. Then one afternoon, I heard a knock at the door. Not a buzz. A knock, which was strange, because our apartment building has a secured front entrance. You can't just walk in. You need to be buzzed up. I opened the door, and there she was, Diane, standing in the hallway, puffy eyes, hair wild, tears streaming down her face like she was starring in a soap opera. She didn't even say hi. She just launched into it. I've been having panic attacks every day. You don't understand what you're doing to me. I gave up everything for you. Then she tried to walk past me into the apartment. I stepped in her way. You need to leave. She gasped like I'd slapped her. What? I'm your mother. You won't even let me in. Emily heard the yelling and came to the door. The moment she saw Emily, my mom's face twisted. Oh, of course. There she is, the puppeteer. Emily said nothing, just stood there, calm, her arm brushing mine. That quiet support gave me the strength I needed. I told my mom, we already had this conversation. We told you our boundary. You ignored it. Please leave. And that's when she really lost it. She sat down on the hallway floor, full meltdown mode, screaming, crying, saying she couldn't breathe, couldn't live without me, that I was choosing a girl over my own blood. Our neighbor peeked out of her door. Another one walked past quickly. I stood there completely frozen, not because I didn't know what to do, but because I had seen this performance so many times before. At my middle school parent-teacher conference, at my graduation, at the hospital when my grandma was dying. This wasn't a breakdown. This was a tactic. So I said it again, quietly, firmly, leave, or I'm calling security. And I meant it. She looked up at me, eyes cold now, the tears suddenly gone. You'll regret this. One day when I'm gone and you're alone, you'll look back and wish you treated me better. Then she stood up, smoothed her shirt, and walked away like nothing happened. No more tears. No more sobs. Just rage simmering under a fake calm. I closed the door and locked it. And for the first time, I realized she never wanted a relationship. She wanted control. After that hallway meltdown, I thought maybe she'd back off for a while. I was wrong. Within days, I started hearing from friends, old friends I hadn't talked to in years. Out of nowhere. First, a text from a guy I played soccer with in high school. Hey man, hope you're okay. Heard some stuff about you from your mom. Just wanted to check in. Then a message from a childhood best friend. I don't know what's going on, but I'm worried. Your mom says some pretty wild things about you. I was baffled. How did she even get their numbers? I barely keep in touch with half of these people. Turns out she'd been calling, texting, even showing up at their houses, telling them her version of the story. She painted me as angry, unstable, and selfish. She claimed I was pushing everyone away, refusing to talk to family or old friends. The worst was when she started sending group emails pretending to be me, saying things like, "I'm cutting everyone out," and "I'm done with toxic people." I spent hours explaining to people that none of it was true, that my mom was manipulating everyone around her. Emily helped me keep track of all the messages and calls. We documented everything and passed it to my lawyer, but the damage was done. Some friends pulled away, unsure who to believe. Some family members avoided me, not wanting to take sides. And my confidence? It took a serious hit. I realized just how far she'd go to isolate me. But here's the thing. No matter how much she tried to break us apart, Emily stood firm. She told me, "We're stronger than our lies." And for the first time, I truly believed it. I never knew the full extent of what my mom had done to me until I found out what happened to my oldest friends. When I was a kid, I had a tight group of friends. We were inseparable through middle school, high school, the kind of bond you think will last forever. But after high school, I started noticing my friends drifting away. One by one, they stopped returning calls, dodged meetups, or gave me vague excuses. I assumed people just grew apart. Life got busy. Things changed. But then Emily did some digging. She managed to get in touch with a few of those friends. And what they told us was shocking. Turns out, my mom had called every single one of them after I moved out. She told them stories about me, that I was untrustworthy, selfish, unstable. She said I was mentally ill and a danger to those around me. She told them to stay away for their own good. A few friends admitted they believed her at first. The lies were convincing. They remembered all the concerns my mom had expressed over the years. Things I thought were just her being worried. I felt like my entire foundation was ripped out. I confronted my mom about this the next time we talked, or rather, the last time we talked. She laughed and said, "You think friends are forever? That people don't move on? I was just looking out for you, even if you can't see it." That moment broke something in me. Not the anger. That had been there a long time. But the sadness. Because the people I thought would always be there, the people who should have had my back, didn't. Not because they didn't care, but because my own mother poisoned their view of me. It was one of the cruelest betrayals I ever faced. By the time I hit my late 20s, I had a decent job at a marketing firm. I loved the work and finally felt like I was building something real for myself. But the stress at home followed me everywhere. One day, my boss called me into her office with a serious look. She said, "We've received some complaints about your behavior from clients. We need to talk." I was stunned. I'd never had a single complaint before. I asked if she knew who had made the complaints. She hesitated, then admitted they came from someone claiming to be a close family member, worried about my mental state. I put two and two together immediately. My mom had contacted my workplace. Not just once. Over the next few weeks, my boss in HR told me she had sent emails, called clients, even left threatening voicemail messages claiming I was unfit and unstable. HR advised me to document everything and assured me they were taking it seriously. It felt like a nightmare. I felt betrayed all over again. This time, my mom wasn't just messing with my personal life. She was trying to wreck my professional reputation. Emily stood by me, helping me gather proof and speak with HR. Eventually, the firm warned my mom to stop contacting them or face legal consequences. I finally felt a small victory, but this only hardened her. She didn't back down. Instead, she shifted tactics. After all the fake complaints and threats to my job, I thought my mom had finally hit her limit. But no. One Friday afternoon, I was at my desk wrapping up a project when I saw someone walk through the glass door. It was her, Diane. She was dressed like she was ready for battle. Sharp suit, hair perfectly done, but her eyes were wild, like she was on a mission. She marched straight up to my manager's office and started yelling about how I was being treated unfairly and that I was the real victim here. My manager came out looking mortified. She asked me to talk outside. Turns out, several co-workers had witnessed the scene, so were concerned about workplace safety. One even said they felt intimidated by my mom's presence. HR got involved immediately. I was told that if anything like that happened again, it could lead to serious consequences for me, including termination. I was crushed. It felt like punishment for something I hadn't done. Emily stood with me after work and said, "This isn't your fault. She's trying to break you." I started realizing just how far she was willing to go, not just emotionally, but publicly, to control and hurt me. But I also knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let her win. After the chaos at work, Emily and I knew things had to change. Fast. We couldn't keep living like this, constantly waiting for the next attack or breakdown. We hired a lawyer who specialized in harassment and restraining orders. It felt extreme, but honestly, it was the only way to protect myself and our relationship. We filed for a restraining order against my mom. The process was long and emotionally draining. Diane showed up to the hearings, crying, accusing me of being cruel and playing the victim like a pro. But this time, the court saw through her act. The judge listened to the evidence. The phone calls, the texts, the emails, the witnesses from work, and the group chat messages. The pattern was clear. When the restraining order was granted, it felt like a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. She was legally required to stay away. No contact with me or Emily, no showing up at our home or workplace. For the first time in years, I felt safe. But the hardest part wasn't the order itself. It was accepting that my mom, the woman who was supposed to love and protect me, was the source of so much pain. Emily held my hand through it all, reminding me every day that family isn't always blood. After the restraining order, life didn't magically become perfect. Healing takes time. The scars from years of manipulation and lies don't disappear overnight. But with Emily's unwavering support, I started to rebuild. I went to therapy for the first time, learning how to recognize toxic patterns and how to set healthy boundaries, not just with my mom, but with anyone. I limited contact with family members who took her side. It hurt, but I realized I had to protect my peace. For the first time, I felt free to live my own life on my own terms. I celebrated my engagement without guilt or fear. I even reconnected with some old friends who had been misled. The hardest part? Accepting that my mom might never change, and that's okay. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is let go. Months passed, and with a restraining order in place, I thought things would finally calm down. But Diane isn't someone who gives up easily. One day, I saw a new social media post from her, a long, dramatic video where she played the victim again, accusing me of abandoning my own mother and turning people against her. This time, though, I wasn't the only one who saw it. Friends, co-workers, even some family members sent me messages saying, "Ignore her, we know the truth." I realized my story wasn't just mine anymore. It belonged to everyone who had witnessed her lies and manipulation. I wrote a short, honest post on my own social media. Healing isn't linear. Sometimes it means setting hard boundaries with people you love. Toxicity doesn't disappear just because we want it to. To anyone struggling with a toxic parent, you're not alone. You deserve peace. That post blew up more than I expected. Messages poured in from strangers, from people I knew, all sharing their own stories of toxic parents. For the first time, I felt like my voice mattered. After posting about my experience, I was overwhelmed by the support. Messages from strangers who'd faced toxic parents too. People thanking me for speaking out. Others sharing advice on how they coped, survived, and even thrived. I joined online support groups where people didn't judge but understood. For once, I didn't feel isolated. Emily was my rock through it all, encouraging me to take baby steps toward healing and rebuilding trust in myself. I started setting clearer boundaries, not just with my mom, but also with anyone who tried to minimize my pain. It was scary, sometimes lonely, but every small victory felt huge. I reconnected with friends who had drifted away. explaining what really happened, and they welcomed me back without hesitation. Most importantly, I started learning how to love myself the way I deserved. This is the hardest part to write, but also the most important. After years of manipulation, lies, and pain, I finally accepted that my mom might never change. And that was okay. I stopped hoping for an apology. I stopped waiting for her to admit the truth or take responsibility. Instead, I focused on me, my happiness, my health, and my future with Emily. I learned that family isn't just who you're born to. It's who supports you, respects you, and loves you unconditionally. I set firm boundaries that I enforce every day. If my mom tries to cross them, I protect myself and walk away. I'm not the same person I was when this all started. I'm stronger, wiser, and kinder to myself. If you're reading this and struggling with a toxic parent, know this. You are not alone. You deserve peace. And it's okay to put yourself first. Thanks for following my story. It's been a long journey, but finally I'm free.